This week on Unglossy.
I was like, oh, friend, it's soon. I was singing Phyllis Hyman. You know what I'm saying? So I've always had this old song. Or like Shirley Murdoch, As We Lay. And so I just had this love, but I didn't think that that would translate into a career.
From the top.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Mickey Fax.
And I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Welcome to Unglossy, decoding brand and culture. I'm Tom Frank, partner and chief creative officer at Merit Creative. This is Mickey Fax, hip-hop artist and founder and CEO of Pendulum Inc. And that is Jeffrey Sledge, a seasoned music industry veteran who has worked with some of the biggest artists in the business. We're here to explore the moments of vulnerability, pivotal decisions, and creative sparks that fuel the relationship between brand and culture. Get ready for thought-provoking journey into the heart and soul of branding, the unscripted, unfiltered, and truly unglossy truth. KJ Rose.
Chicago's
That
own.
was fun. She comes with energy.
Mad energy. She's a corporate speaker now. We didn't even get into that. Like she'll go to like the Amazon office and like, talk to them about whatever's coming up and boost the staff up. She does all kinds of stuff, man.
I would invite her into this office. She would get everybody fired up. They'd all be running through the walls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's really good at it.
I'll tell you this, though. The one thing that just jumped out at me that I think is a lesson across all industries, not just music, just everything. You got to say what you believe. Whether you're a brand, whether you're a musician, whatever you are in whatever aspect of life, say what you believe. And that can take you a long way.
I agree.
Yep. And be honest.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that episode, just hearing from someone who's worked with so many different artists on so many different levels. I think people are going to really enjoy this, episode. And if they're watching it, they're going to enjoy the gun show. You know what I mean?
I got to ask you this about the gun show. Would you have dare wear that shirt if we had LL Cool J on here?
Yeah, I would wear it with LL. Yeah, let him see what's up. He just got the cannons. I got the, like your camera. You know what I'm saying? I just got the guns. I just got the regular guns.
This dude is crazy right now. It's wild.
Oh man, I can't wait for people to listen to this though and watch it. It's a gun show. It's really good, and I mean, wow, what an education she's had to lead her to where she is today, in both a traditional sense and just all the people she's worked with and all the great things she's done. She's amazing.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Okay.
Yeah. So with that, let's dive into KJ Rose.
It's Mickey.
Unglossy is brought to you by Merit Creative. Looking to skyrocket your business's visibility and drive growth? At Merit Creative, we solve your brand and marketing woes. With big ideas, decades of experience, and innovative solutions, we'll draw in your target audience and keep them hooked. Remember, creativity is key to success. Partner with Merit Creative and unlock your brand's potential. Learn more at meritcreative.com. And now, back to the show. On here.
We missed a lot of great material.
We did.
All right, here we go.
All right, we all good now?
Why is my doing this ring?
Kianna.
Good job.
KJ
Kianna,
Rose.
I learned. You just keep repeating the words.
The repetition of it all.
Repetition. I've already read your book. I think it said that.
Look at that.
Oh, there it is.
The
Hey, I
Rose
love the
effect.
design of that, by the way.
Thank you.
All right.
That's beautiful.
Designer by the name of David Anderson. Creative artwork. I have to remember that. Okay.
Today's guest is Kianna Henson, also known as KJ Rose. KJ is an artist, performance coach, influencer celebrated for transforming aspiring artists into superstars, earning her nickname, the Artist Whisperer. We're going to learn about that. She's got roots in Southside Chicago. She pursued a degree in business administration from Florida A&M and balanced a corporate job with night gigs as a session artist. Her career highlights include performing with icons like Janet Jackson, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake. KJ founded the Rose Effect LLC to help new artists flourish, with Lil Nas X being one of her notable successes. She has also worked with brands like Doritos, Adidas, and Amazon. Recently, she published The Rose Effect, 8 Steps to Delivering the Performance of Your Life. Welcome to Unglossy, KJ.
Woo! Bam, 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 bam.
I love it. I love
Pretty good
it.
intro, though, right?
That was good.
Was it factually accurate?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go first, real quick, because I want to tell her my story of how we met, because I think it's interesting. Even though KJ, you don't seem to quite remember. This is wild. So years ago, I'm not going to age us, but years ago, actually, she looks exactly the same. She doesn't age them like literally at all.
You look a little older.
But
She looks exactly the same.
I look a little older. She looks literally the same as when I met her, and it's been a minute. It's been quite a minute.
It's been a minute.
Anyway, the Soul Train Awards, year blah 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 blah. I decided
Yes.
I was going to throw a after party for the Soul Train Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Jive. I don't know how I did it, but I got Jive to give me the money to rent a mansion. And how I guess it was I bet it was the Beverly Hills or whatever. And we put together this party, and they had the DJ. I forget who DJ'd. Shit, I forget who DJ'd. But whatever, put together this party, and it was dope, and people came, and it was rocking. And it's before BT Awards, so Soul Train Awards was the thing. So we have a mutual friend, Cheryl. And Cheryl, I don't know if Cheryl was at the party, but I think that's how we met initially. But anyway, I see these girls come to the party. It was like a lot of them, right? Good looking women. I'm like, God damn, my shit lit, right? And I remember they came in the party and the music was rocking. And I looked and I kept hearing this girl dance. First of all, they were playing house music. They started playing house music. And those who don't know, Chicago house music, people from Chicago love house music. So they go ham. When you play house music, they all dance. So this girl's on the dance floor, she's dancing, and she starts yelling, Southside, Southside. And I was like, who the fuck is this girl? I mean, I was saying it in a good way because she was setting it off. She's setting the party off. And she kept going, Southside. And she danced and danced and danced and danced and danced. So I walked up, I was like, yo, who are you? And we started talking and introduced ourselves. And we found out we're both Libras. So we created a rapport. So later on, back in New York, I worked at Jive, and I heard the guy who was my assistant at the time worked very closely with Britney Spears.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that she was looking for background singers. And I was like, really? I said, yo, I think I got somebody for you, B. And he was like, send it down. So Kianna came to the office and did her 1-2. She did the audition, and she became a background singer for Britney Spears.
Mm.
She was on Saturday Night Live. She toured with Britney like a real background singer, not some bullshit. Like she was really doing it. So I feel like in a small, small way, I was a part of setting her career off to where she is now.
Wow.
In a tiny, tiny way.
Wow, that was a great story.
It's the true story. Is it not true?
Well, there's some things I can go ahead and help you. Uh,
Please
Okay,
do.
go ahead,
Okay.
fill
Please
it
do.
in.
So I was actually singing for Carl Thomas that year of the Soul Train Awards, and so
That's why we know Cheryl, because Cheryl worked with
so
Carl. That's
okay,
how I knew it was. Yeah,
yes, Cheryl had us all come to your party, and then when so I didn't know Aaron yet. I just knew you. So I
No,
was calling you
yeah.
every day, every other day, because I said I need to go on the road with Britney Spears. But you weren't ever available. I mean, if
Mm.
I know.
Oh, come
Oh, good
on.
night. I'm telling you, you said, do you want to know the truth?
No, I want to know. I want to
Okay,
know. I want to
okay.
know.
So, but
Go
but
ahead.
not
Cut it.
not
Go
because you weren't
ahead.
trying to hang out with me. You were just a busy guy, and it does not
Okay.
preclude you being a major factor in how I started with Brittany, right? Because it.
I don't want to say major. It was a little something, something.
Let me. This is my story. God dog it. Did you tell yours?
Let her tell her story, Jeffrey. We got to hear it.
And so I was calling like every week, like, hey, is Jeff available now? And Jeff, was running the label, the department, maybe the label. The label's better in my story at the time. And so he was like, he'll get back to you. And then I never was dismissive, but I just never took a moment to just really find out how Aaron was doing. So I was like, how's your day going, Aaron? Da, 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 da. And he was like, well, what have you been trying to get to Jeff for? And I said, I need to be on this next Britney Spears tour. And he said, my friend Richard is the tour manager. Let me send
Mm,
your stuff to him, Richard Channer. And then Richard sent it over to Skip Dorsey, who was the music director. So it
mm,
was all kind of part. And then I missed the auditions because I was taking care of some family stuff in Chicago. But when I got back to New York, I called Skip every day. Persistence is my superpower. I realized that very on. And I said, "Hey, did you find what you were looking for?" He was like, "Not quite. We're in Miami now. I'll call you later." Like this happened for weeks. Like I would call him and just sing, or I would call him and say I was about to get on the train. Just wanted to make sure you weren't going to call. And he'd be like, "Nope." And I'd be like, "It's okay." And so my persistence ended up getting me the job where he said, "I've never given anyone else a job like this over the phone, but based on your personality and your persistence, it is yours." So you started this train indeed, Jeff, but that is how it all came to be. I had to go get it.
Hey, there's a
whew.
lot to be said about persistence.
Yes.
Wow, that's
That's a
amazing.
good
That's amazing.
superpower to have.
It surely is. I agree.
Hey, so let's
Wow.
rewind. I want to hear about. So you grew up in the South Side of Chicago.
Yes, and then we moved to Flossmoor. So I went to HF there. Juice WRLD went to HF as well, and a lot of other really notable people. But also I went to Whitney Young, Michelle Obama, and a lot of other notable.
So where does the love of music and performing come from?
I think I was born with it. But I had this kind of neighboring quality of having stage fright. I was great with the choir. I was great with the pom pom squad, the cheerleading squad. But whenever asked to do something as a solo artist, as a solo speaker, orator, like my body would have an adverse reaction. And so I
Hmm.
just thought that I would be great in choirs. I sang in the Soul Children of Chicago. I sang at Trinity United Church of Christ. And so I was great. But like I would say that one of my biggest arguments with my mom is when I was asked to sing a solo at church, and my entire disposition looked like I did not want to be there. But it was really a defense mechanism. So I've always loved music. I grew up on, I mean, I'm gonna say I had an advanced palate. So I'm not gonna say because these artists might date me. But anyway, Anita Baker, Tony Braxton, Shaka, Stephanie Mills. And so where everybody else was at the talent shows singing New Edition, I was like, "Oh, friend, it's soon." I was singing Phyllis Hyman. You know what I'm saying? So I've always had this soul. Or like Shirley Murdoch, "As We Lay." And so I just had this love, but I didn't think that that would translate into a career because, it's a very pragmatic way of moving in Chicago. You go to grammar school, you go to high school, you go get your degree, you come back home and you work. And so the idea that I could make a living out of doing something that seemed like a hobby at the time it was lost on me.
Have you? So I got to imagine today you could get up on stage, and you've lost that fright, right? I mean, you could
Oh
absolutely get
yeah,
up there.
that's why I teach it. That's why I
How did you overcome it though?
I personally overcame it with repetition, and then I jumped my butt on the Apollo. So I'm always trying because I know it exists, and I'm always trying to find ways to outrun it. I am, I would get on the Showtime at the Apollo. Anything that would shock my system, I would try. And so at
Hmm.
Showtime at the Apollo, I won the first time, and then shout out to Erskine Isaac and Dave
Erskine,
Nelson.
wow.
And so they were like, "Okay, let's get on Showtime." And so I get on there, I win the first time. Then they bring back all the All Stars. And so this girl brought I didn't get the memo that you should bring like a busload of people, but she did all the way from Maryland. And so I remember like Bow-Legged Lou was the host that particular time. And so he was going down the line and everybody would get kind of the obligatory applause. And then I think I was seventh and the girl with the busload was eight. By the time they got to me, her whole party like booed me and then she won, but I knew why they booed me, but it was like the ultimate shock of the system that was needed. And then I would say in addition to that, it was repetition. A lot of times we think artists are getting up there. No, some go from the top of the dome, or it is just in their DNA to riff and just to have no fear. But I wasn't born like that, so I knew that most of what I had to do in the studio was to write it all down, repeat it, rehearse it, so that I could always have something to pull from once I got on stage. And those same methods and modules are what I use for artists, whether they're legacy artists or whether they're new artists. There's something to be said about helping people to unleash and to excavate the assets of telling a story that is like impenetrable and that is compelling, so that their story doesn't get hijacked. So I do it because I was where they are, and I
Yeah,
know how to get
that's
out.
cool. Mickey, where were you on the spectrum of being able to perform? I mean, do you ever have that kind of anxiety, or have you always been one that can just step in front of everybody and perform?
Nah, it doesn't matter if it's like 5 people or it's, the most people I've ever performed in front of was maybe 15,000 people. Opened up for Wiz Khalifa in
So
Amherst. And, it's anxiety every single time, no
Is
matter
it?
how many people. Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
but I personally believe in, and maybe KJ Rose could agree with this, I believe that if you care, then you will have anxiety before you get on stage. I think the moment that you just, you don't have that care and concern for the art anymore, it probably becomes, par for the course. And it's just kind of like, whatever, I'm just getting on stage. It is what it is. But if you actually care about what it is that you're doing, you always should probably get butterflies and nervousness.
yeah. And I've found that replacing words that don't serve you with words that do have been like the game changers. So, anxiety, being anxious always seems to lean towards negative. But, what you were saying, Mickey, in terms of uh caring, like I've replaced that word with excitement. I'm excited to share
Mm.
what I got. I'm excited, to be able to unleash what I do to the audience and to have them to leave this show in a better way than how they came in. So I am always with my clients. I'm like, whatever words they're using, whether it's nervousness, I'm like, but maybe you're just, and there's like an enchantment about what you do. So I get them to replace words that can
that's
act.
a great point. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, words of power. So you have to be careful about that.
Yep.
Before we move on, give us one quick positive. Just gonna keep it positive. Positive story about working with Brittany, and one quick positive story about working with Justin Timberlake.
One positive story, Brittany, and one with Justin. I would say with Brittany, she was
Mm-hmm.
so young, and so she had no um, problems with allowing her background singers to be showcased.
Mm.
At the time, I remember, she was a little nervous to sing on Oprah, and I was like, "Wait, we're going to Chicago. We got to get this together. Like that's my hometown. My mother's going to be out." And so I, truly encouraged her in that moment. And then additionally, to be able to come from the background to the foreground. Shout out to Johnny Wright, for making sure that we always were like a present support for her. And it was probably my second major tour, but it definitely felt like family. And even in that, like there was still some excitement to perform behind, not in the forefront, but being almost 20 feet from
Mm-hmm.
stardom is what every day gave me kind of like the inspiration to keep going. When you can keep the visualization of it all, to see what's happening in front of you, and then to take that and then pour into your own career was powerful.
Mm.
And I would say with Justin, I did promo dates with Justin Timberlake, and I think, let me say, between Justin and Janet, because that, like, again, they had this.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Don't
Yeah.
forget about Janet Jackson there,
I
Jeff.
mean, I mean,
Same birthday as me, by the way. I just want to point that out.
oh, look at you, superstar.
Yeah.
So with Justin, it was, I got to perform with friends, Citra Dance, and I look at all the people that were behind him at the time. Rob Stevenson,
Mhm.
he then became his vocal coach, and so I think, I was able to learn from the other background singers that he had, and unfortunately, I didn't get to go on the full tour where he had them doing choreography, and so every time I see him, I'm like, one more tour, so
Mm.
Mm.
I do full choreography as a background with Janet, to grow up loving an artist, and to then take those the choreography back to your pom pom squad for Rhythm Nation and for Pleasure Principle, and now to be standing behind her. Sometimes it was very tough to focus when you know every move, but you're not hired for that. Okay,
Right.
you're hired to sing. So
Mm.
she was always very gracious, and it was after that, like if I could have retired, and I didn't know anything else was coming, I'd have been okay.
Wait a minute. So as a backup singer
Mm-hmm.
with Janet Jackson, and that music comes on, you're not dancing. You're just purely.
Side to side, because she got dances. So everybody got
Oh,
roll. So I didn't get to da 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 ha da. No, I did not get to. And so it was tough to silo it, And then I think sometimes it would get me in trouble because I could not unsee all the themes,
yeah.
all the images, all the content. And so, but I was just Kevin Antunes actually brought me on to that gig. So I was just grateful. I could have never imagined, when I think about where I started of having this stage fright and then growing up in Chicago where, I just thought I would have a 9 to 5, because even with my first tour, when I called my mom, I was like, yo, got this opportunity, blah, blah. And she was like, what about your stock options? What about your health care? Which are all good things, but
Yeah.
great
Mm-hmm.
things. But at the time, even in her conservative and pragmatic views, there was just a hunger in me. I was like, I already got the degree. I can get another job. I vested. We good. Healthcare. I mean, it was so I was able to kind of satisfy, both ways of thinking. And then she got to come to the show, and I think once she saw it,
Then
it
she was
like,
in.
yeah, exactly.
So you were balancing both of these at one point. You were working at Pfizer
Hmm.
and you were doing this at the same time?
I was working at Pfizer by day. Now I hadn't gone on tour at the time, so I would uh, go over and record with Derek Angeletti for Big's album. So it was on a song called "Play a Hater," and then Derek Angeletti brought me on to do well. Derek Angeletti too hired me for that, and then Dio brought me over to do Heavy D, and I sang a song called Big Daddy. And so that was great. And so I was singing background. So I did something for Capone Noriega, for Common, for Mace, so I was singing background on their
On
albums.
all these. Wow. And
There
so
was
then you're showing up to work, you're sitting next to somebody else who probably went home and watched TV last night, and here you are singing with some of these amazing people.
and then sleeping in the bathroom the next day at the job.
So when
But
did you know? When was the
Taking a
moment when
15-minute
you
nap.
said, I'm done with the day-to-day. I'm going all in on this?
okay, well, I had a little bit of like a false start, and shout out to Tony Dofat who put me on the record with Hev. But I
Shout out to
got a
Tony.
call. This girl named Janae, who was like, there's a tour. I'm not gonna say what tour, but anyway, there's a No Way Out tour. I took a absence.
Oh
And
boy.
I told my bosses that I just needed to handle something, and I handled it for 2 months, and I went on tour, and then I came back, and I was like, oh my god, okay, I still have a job. I still did not have.
They let you come back
2
after two
months?
months?
It was a leave of absence, okay, a family leave. Thank you. I had to handle
Mm.
some family business.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen. You got to remember, she went on
Do
tour
what you
with
got to do.
blank blank and the family. Like it was a family
Yeah.
situation.
All right. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It was a
Yeah,
family. It was a
yeah. And
family vacation. Yeah,
so
a family emergency.
yes, yes. And so I came back, and then, I think I didn't have the courage at that point to leave totally, because I was in New York by myself. I didn't know if I could sustain on just music alone, but I knew that I could create these moments in music. And so then I worked another 2 years at Pfizer, and then I realized I
Wow.
was not giving any one thing 100%. I had these they wanted me to kind of excel and be promoted at Pfizer, and I was like, no. And then I was expecting all of these great wins in music, but I wasn't giving 100% to it. And finally I was like, I gotta go. And that's when I took the leap. And I think as soon as I stepped out on faith is when the opportunities started coming within the 2 week notice period that I'd given them.
Wow.
And those opportunities started coming. And so another
Meant to
tour,
be.
Carl. Yeah.
Wow. So I gotta ask. I gotta ask about this tour that you went on. You know,
The
the
blankety
blankety
blank tour.
blank tour in the family. Any craziness happening on this tour?
No, I was so young and green and just happy to be there that I think everybody started looking at me as their little sister. Like I just was not exposed
Good
um,
for you.
to a lot of things, and then I look back on it and look at all the things that I was sheltered and protected from, and so I think it's the time when my naivete probably worked for me.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah,
Especially with all of the recent
In
things
light
that's
of
been
everything
happening
else.
in
yeah.
light of everything else. So it's good to hear. Um, Before I know Tom likes to get his questions in, but I just you know, what was it like working with the Notorious B.I.G.?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that he wasn't there,
Okay.
but it was um, beyond motivational to have to be the first to hear the song
Mm.
with
And what song was this? What song was this?
Play a
Mm.
Hater,
Oh, okay.
right?
Great.
So it was really Derek Angeletti and myself, and I think now, like, if there had been more people, who knows? I think it happened the way it was supposed to happen. Um,
Right.
if when we talk about the sheltering of all things, and so,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I really wish that I had have been in the booth with Big, but his his genius and his energy resonated through those headphones in a way that made me feel like he was there. It
Mm.
was the energy, was the
Mm.
tonality, it was having it right here and hearing the first kind of time he had recorded it, before it made it out to the world. So it really set me on a path of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I can do this. And so imagine
Mm.
from Pfizer after work, probably I didn't have a briefcase, but I'm sure I had like a backpack and like, I was like
Wow.
business casual, and I'm taking the shuttle from 42nd and whatever to I think second over to 42nd and 8th to go to Daddy's house. So it was an
Mm-hmm.
incredible experience.
And somebody said something to me. Well, not to me, but I read something the other day. Biggie was. I think he died at like 24.
24. And Pac was only 25. They were young,
Right.
Right.
man.
So
They were
like they
kids.
were young. They were kids, young men, creating classical music.
Yeah.
In a space where hip hop was, about maybe 20 years old, and just creating and crafting culture at that age
Yeah.
is just
It's
unprecedented.
amazing.
So salute to you for even contributing to one of the greatest albums in hip hop history. I think
Oh,
that's just admirable on so many different levels. KJ
I got
Rose.
my plaque. That's one of the plaques.
That's
So
one
There
of the
you go.
plaques.
that's one of the plaques.
Wow.
Tell us more about these plaques. I'm seeing all these plaques behind her, like record. I mean, it's amazing.
So one plaque is um, life after death. That do you want me to go over there and explain? Let me just go on over there.
Oh, let's go. Let's take a tour.
We're taking a
Okay.
tour here, folks.
And
We're
she
going
got the
around the
big
room.
and she got the Biggie shirt. She got the Biggie shirt on too.
I know how this goes.
That's why I asked.
So this is presented to KJ Rose, multi-platinum certification of 11 million copies of um, the album Life After Death.
Whew.
And then
Wow.
this one is Heavy's single. Is this no? This is Waterbed Head. So this is the album of Waterbed Head,
I
and this
remember that album.
is of 500,000 copies. Uptown Records Waterbed Head album, and then this is the single, Big Daddy Waterbed Head
Hmm.
for 500,000, and then this is Little Town. This is Lil Nas Old Town Road.
We're going to
For
get into that.
This is a diamond. This is a platinum, no, certified diamond, and
Wow.
it is 10 million copies of Old Town Road featuring Billy Ray Cyrus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so that's your highest one.
No, Biggie's high. The Biggie's
Big
the
is
highest
high.
one.
Oh,
Big
okay,
for
okay.
for 11. And I guess they weren't doing diamond then.
Oh, because I was gonna say it's not a diamond.
Right.
Well, and you know, the Biggie one is probably higher anyway because that's the album, whereas
Oh, got you. That was the
Right.
song.
But
Lil Nas X was the single.
come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
come
It
on,
was the
spit that
single.
knowledge,
Yeah,
spit that knowledge.
I'm trying to help him out here, KJ
No, it's
Rose.
impressive. That is very impressive.
Yes.
You were part of the Bad Boy family in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Where you going? Where you going?
I mean, I
No, I'm just saying you sung on a lot. No,
Well,
not that. I'm saying you
yes,
sung on May. You worked
absolutely.
with Doug record. That's what I mean.
Yes.
You were part of the Bad Boy family. You worked with a lot of their
Ab-
artists. Carl. That's what I mean. Nothing
And they
grimy.
showed me love, from Mace to Carl Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, DJ Rogers was doing a lot of writing. 112. Those are my boys, the Locks. I mean, yes, it was a family indeed. Lil Kim, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're having all this success
Yeah.
as an artist and a recording, and what happened? When did you decide to transform from performing to coaching?
So after I had gone on tour, I was like, I cannot take all of the energy that I have and pour into other people without taking a chance on myself. So my
Mhm.
last tour was with, I want to say, Janet Jackson, and then I went to work for Clive Davis as his assistant so that I can work on the album. And so like I was taking my album over to Larry Jackson and Peter Edge and just really like letting them hear what I was doing. And nobody really liked my music, but that's okay. I just kept going. And so to understand how to truly maximize the current moment that I was in. And so I think that, I asked for every glass of tea I had to pour, for every apple I had to cut, I was asking Clive, tell me why you chose this as a single. So I was making sure I got my information. You know what I mean? Like, why did you sign this artist? Why did you, choose this as the single for Alicia or for Monica or for Jennifer Hudson? So it was like, I needed there to be an exchange, internally, my own private exchange of, because I just come off the road. So, to do like the smaller task, you want to break out and be like, do you know who I am? You know where I came from? And I was like, yo, this is another level. And this is where, this is the learning part of what you're doing so you can understand the business and, just make it work for you.
That was part 1 of our conversation with KJ Rose. Don't miss part 2. All right, folks. That's our show. Tune in to Unglossy, Decoding Brand and Culture on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And follow us on Instagram at UnglossyPod to join the conversation. Until next time, I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Smicky! That was good.